Hi everybody, welcome to almost the end of the chapter. We're going to be dealing with similar and congruent figures. I'll zoom in on our learning target here. We are going to be able to identify similar and congruent figures in order to find unknowns. We need to define similar and congruent here, so it's important that you get those definitions down. Congruent is figures with the same size and the same shape. Sorry, there we go. And similar are figures with the same shape but a different size. Let me show you what that looks like here. Again, my drawings are not going to be perfect, so give me a little grace here. But notice I have a little tiny triangle, and all of these angles are the same, so I've made two equilateral triangles. So they would have to have angle measures of 60. However, the side of this equilateral is 2 inches, and the side of this equilateral triangle is 4 inches. They are not exactly the same size, but they are the same shape, which makes them similar. So if you can imagine, sometimes you would blow this up to this for an actual size or scale it down for a smaller drawing. Think of scale drawings. They are proportional. In this one, they are supposed to be exactly the same, and you can see they're both right triangles. Even though this one is facing a different way, this angle corresponds to this angle corresponds to this angle, and of course the right ones correspond together. This is the hypotenuse here. It corresponds to this one, and you can see there's 3 little tick marks here. 1 tick mark here, that corresponds to that one, and this one corresponds to this one. I used a big word there, corresponding parts. Those are the parts that are matching. So corresponding is going to be a big word during this lesson, because sometimes the triangles or the figures are twisted or turned, or maybe even this would be turned upright, so that the 90-degree angle is more on this side, and then everything else is the same. So what you'll have to be able to realize is that this is still going to correspond to this, and then this longer side here is this shorter side here is this. So you're going to have to be able to flip and turn things in your mind, much like that game we play called Swish, those of you who are into that game. So I'm going to show you some pictures in the book just because it's difficult for me to draw super accurately. And I'm going to take a look at these 2 triangles. Feel free to attempt to draw them if you would like. But notice that these are congruent figures. But I also want you to notice that this is a flip of this triangle. So the congruent marks are this 3 tick mark corresponds with this tick mark, this 3 tick mark. And then it would be angle A corresponds to angle D. So when you are writing a list of corresponding angles, you would write, okay, angle A and angle D correspond, angle B and E correspond, angle C and F correspond. Okay? When you look at sides, you would write AB and DE, and yes, if you flip that to BA and ED, it would still be correct. But you would need all 3 sets to correspond, and when you're writing about corresponding, you need to use that word and then separate them by commas. All right? So in this photograph over here, triangle ABC and DBC are congruent. Not just similar, they're congruent. So if angle AC C is 51 meters, and that's right over here, angle CD has to be 51 meters. If angle A is 50 degrees, angle D must be 50 degrees. That's why it's truly congruent. They are equal. What you need to watch out for is if you look down in the bottom, again, if you are able to draw replicas of these triangles, please go ahead. I'm just not going to even attempt it. My congruencies don't work. If I say these are similar, so they're not congruent, which means their side lengths are going to be off. They're going to be proportional, but this one is a slight larger, like if we dragged it on our screen, it would blow up a little bit bigger than this, but the angles are all going to stay the same. So if you see this angle right here, angle H and angle M are congruent. Angle J right here and angle L are congruent, which would make the question mark over here, this one would have to be 28 degrees, which leaves our top one. Now I'm going to draw 3 little arcs. We don't know what angle G is, but we do know that it corresponds to angle K, which is 102 degrees. Notice that this one is similar, but it's turned upside down and it's flipped. So you want to make sure that you get the right ones, and I do take the time to find those corresponding parts to do that. The biggest issue you are going to have here is the flips and the turns with the triangle. So please make sure that you double check where that obtuse angle is, and then find where that point is, where it is the long line right here as opposed to the short side right here. So find that and make sure that you get those correspondences correct in order to get the correct number down for the angle measure. So when two triangles are similar, they're going to have same angle measures but different side lengths. If they are congruent, they are going to have equal everything. Use those notations. Don't forget to use the word and separated by a comma. When you're talking about angle, you've got to put that little symbol in there. This assignment should not be too difficult, but I also want you to realize that all of the congruencies and similarities, especially similarities, you can simply set up a proportion to find the missing side length. So if all of the sides are proportional, meaning that it's just a blow up, you can find 3:6 as the unknown is to the other one. So you can set up a proportion just like we learned in our last chapter. So when in doubt, do that. I didn't find any of these particularly difficult for you. Please see me if you have any questions. The vocabulary in the next couple of sections and throughout the unit are very important. Please review that as we get ready for another quiz and a test coming up.